double rainbow, dude.
Yeah, interesting looks.
Oh my
even in Boulder.
God.
Yeah, one guy asked you, "Is that your god?"
That's right, he did.
Yeah.
He did. That was funny. And remember, there was a little girl in the restaurant that started, "Oh, the bird, the bird." Yeah. That was another really weird synchronicity. We get these weird synchronicities, and so I asked the question, and they say, "Go outside now," which seems like the rainbow's the answer, and the answer is yes. But again, it's like this weird thing where they don't really say it.
Never a direct answer.
But eventually, they did tell you flat out, yes, we wrote the Law of One. And that's a huge development for me. Because it explains, okay, yes, they're the group, they're the ancient builder race. Law of One says they started on Venus 2.6 billion years ago. They built all these pyramids everywhere. They took off, they ascended, but now they become what's called the guardians, right? And they've come back in these giant spheres. So when these guys in the SSP Alliance were asking them, why did you come in these giant spheres? What's the purpose of this? What was their answer?
To attenuate the energies that are coming from through the cosmic web, through our sun.
Right.
Because we wouldn't be able to handle it in our current state.
Attenuate means to kind of like control it and modulate it so it doesn't happen too much at once.
Right.
If they didn't use these spheres, and we're talking about the Mayan calendar end date, of course you guys all know, 2012 was a big flop, but look, the science was so good that I was going forward with this year after year leading up to 2012.
2012 was not a big flop. What was supposed to happen happened. We were just all wrong.
That's interesting.
Yeah. That's also during the time that the sphere started coming in mass into the solar system. So, you know, a lot occurred in 2012.
All right. I'm trying to be respectful of time here, so we got the golden triangle head beings. It's very much like what happens with the Law of One. It's all very congruent, this idea of ascension. I'm going to get way more into that tomorrow and on the Monday workshop. It's a huge subject about this idea the sun's going to do a flash. And Corey, you have still heard that there is going to be some sort of solar event that has a transformative effect on consciousness, but the date range now is more like 2018 to 2023. Is that still true?
2024.
2024.
Yeah,
okay.
they added a year.
So, look, all this stuff, if you've seen my scholarship, we have extensive documentation of so many ancient cultures predicting the sun is going to do something huge and that it transforms the very essence of what it means to be human. It totally ties in with the idea of the Tibetan rainbow body. There's 160,000 documented cases, as I always say, of people meditating for 12 or 13 years. If you can only have loving thoughts for 13 years, then you get to ascend anytime you want, which is very difficult. It took me 2 hours to get here in the traffic today in the rain. So we start the clock today. And we'll probably start the clock again tomorrow and start it again the next day. Who are these inner Earth beings, Corey? Are they third density beings or what?
They're fourth density. They're fourth density beings.
And this graphic we had a while back is of a ship that looks more like one of the German ones, I guess, and they got these outfits on. Are these some of the inner Earth beings?
It's Maria Orsic.
That's Maria Orsic, okay.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a vril symbol behind her, but it's a Order of the Black Sun symbol that we need to switch out.
So this was some of the German groups that actually had that original technology that developed in the late 1930s and was the seed of the original space program because they got a technological cooperation with the Draco.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm about to ask you to do something that's going to stretch your talents as an orator. Do you think you can possibly talk for a couple of minutes when I escape and run to the facility?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know it'll be very
really hard, right?
for you to
It's
come
really
up
hard.
with something to say, but I'll be right back.
Okay. Let's get back to the solar flash for a moment because that's a really huge subject, and we'll make sure Corey's taken care of on the way there. Okay, let's talk about some of the prophecies of this because I don't want to gloss over this, and I'm also being respectful of time. I think they always do allow us to run a little bit over, but we also now have very loud music next door, which makes it harder to talk up here. So this solar flash thing, it really, to me, is the ultimate core of what this is all leading towards. And it can't be emphasized enough. If you didn't really catch that, because we didn't really express it as well as we could have, that these giant spheres, of which there are hundreds, okay, they go all the way up in size to the size of the planet Jupiter. They're enormous. They are positioned geometrically throughout our solar system, and Corey on many occasions has witnessed that they are literally throttling energy from the sun. They get brighter and dimmer to try to stop the sun from doing this solar flash too fast. Now, we have a whole bunch of really interesting prophecies. This is kind of some of the stuff I'm going to talk about tomorrow and again on Monday in the Ascension Geometry talk. But let's just do some of this for a moment. The Hindus have a prophecy of what they call the Samavartika fire at the end of an age. They talk about that the sun gives off this huge, blinding white light flash. And they say that when this happens, it's akin to a massive transformation of the whole planet as we know it. Everything about being human, everything about life on Earth, it all changes. One of the weird things is that in the Mahabharata, one of the classic Vedic sacred texts, it describes rainbow colors in the sky that occur when this takes place. And that didn't really jive with the idea of a white flash from the sun. Incidentally, while Corey was talking with these inner Earth people we're about to see, he was told at one point, he was actually shown a vision. This is when he went to the Venus base, actually, and then after that he got a very serious vision of the solar flash. That when the sun does its flash, the Earth has Aurora Borealis on an amazing level. Worldwide Aurora Borealis that is so colorful that it's literally like rainbow colors in the sky. And I said, my God, it's like the Earth's rainbow body activation. Right? Isn't that amazing? A massive Aurora Borealis. And another thing that's totally freaking crazy is all the way back in the Fatima sightings in Portugal, you had a silvery disc show up on the 13th of the month for almost a year, every month, with these 3 kids in Portugal. And a silvery disc appeared the last 2 or 3 times, and it would be up there in the sky, and it would give off this enormous corona of rainbow light that covered the entire sky. And then it appeared to be the sun. It would go behind the sun, blank out everybody so they can't see anything, and then it would come zigzagging down like it was going to crash into the earth. And people were screaming. And it was raining as this happened, and then when the thing went away, the rain had stopped, and by some weird technology, everybody's skin was completely dry. This happened in front of 90,000 witnesses in Portugal. I guess it was in the year 1913, if I got that right. Right as Portugal entered World War I. So to me, and I'm spoiling what's going to be in the next book that I'm writing later on, but a little bit of it, that this Fatima sighting was one of the things that they gave you the third secret of Fatima. You ever study this? Oh my God, what's the third secret of Fatima? Remember the Vatican hid the third secret? It goes ... and you're like, damn, what is it? I believe that the third secret, the beings knew that the Vatican was going to hide the third secret, and they showed you the third secret in a symbolic, dreamlike way. Rainbow colors in the sky, and the sun seems to be crashing down, but then everything's fine, and all the water, which represents in dreams sadness and emotion, all the water is gone, the rain stops, and everybody's dry and happy. Now, imagine if something like that happened now, 90,000 witnesses with their smartphones. Game over. It's disclosure. It only happened 100 years ago. So that is another one of so many examples of this solar flash prophecy. You see it in Zoroastrianism, where they call it phrasokererti, that the sun gives off this energy like molten metal, and that if you are one of the just, meaning if you're a loving, positive person, you get transformed by it, but they also say the wicked are consumed by it. Shortly before Corey was contacted, this weird boundary showed up around our solar system that prevents all these beings from getting out, and they really don't like that. And wouldn't you agree, Corey, that they're worried about this solar flash and what it's going to do to them when it happens?
Yes, they plan to be gone before the solar flash occurs.
Okay, so getting back to the Law of One stuff now, and we had Semjazi, Billy Meyer. That appears to have been Maria Orsich, as you had told us, and this was the craft. There's Maria Orsich. She was one of the people that helped to channel the plans and set up the original Draco meeting. I don't think she realized what they were going to meet when they got there. In the Himalayas, apparently where it happened. You end up, after we'd already been doing this and we already had the show come out, you end up getting brought down here. So we probably could still go another 20 minutes without anybody getting angry in the least bit. So we want to get through these alliance groups. So what happened here? Where were you and what was going on when you saw this?
I was brought down to the inner earth for the first time. Up until then, they were just sort of a rumor that I had read on the Smart Glass Pad. We knew that there were a lot of these groups that were approaching people all over the world, a lot of them claiming to be from other planets, other star systems, when really they were from below our feet. They were telling us that for operational security reasons. But this scene right here, soon after I appeared, I was walked into this room to where I was to bathe in the pool and go through a cleansing ceremony. And, we've gone several times into how embarrassing that was.
I won't have fun with you on that again. I've already done it.
Yeah. I was about 60 pounds heavier. It was not fun being around a bunch of tall, skinny, obvious vegan type people.
With very trippy eyes, right?
Yeah.
As we can see here. So these were, as you said, the sentinels that were at the doorway.
Right.
And you end up going through the doorway, and then you meet this wonderful lady.
Yes, Kari.
And describe for us what happens when she touches your hands and how that changed you as a person.
It was surreal. She leaned over and put her hands out, and as did I. She asked me to take her hands. And then when we did, it was like part of my essence was pulled to in between us. Hers was as well, and then it sort of blended. And I had access to memories of her when she was young. But what she was doing, she was trying to get information hidden in me. And she was digging through my youth all the way up. And as she was going through my youth, I was in a parallel way seeing her youth, she's about 130 years old at her current state. They live way longer than that. So,
and they told you they're fourth density, right?
Yes, they're fourth density. And, she gleaned a lot about me, and I gleaned quite a bit about her, although it was pretty hard to fourth density mind. It's really hard for us to really kind of fathom it. We think so incredibly different. It's like you and your dog trying to have a conversation. They're just way beyond us.
And shortly after this happened to you, we are at the Boulderado, and you eat the Caesar salad.
Right.
And it all went downhill from there.
Yeah, they've been working on me for a long time about getting on a high-vibe diet, practice what you're preaching, basically. And instead, I was sitting there, eating corn dogs, processed meat, all kinds of nastiness. And I was refusing to switch over, so they gave me a little bit of... She's told me more about some learning opportunities.
The opportunity, of course.
Yeah, that was an opportunity to her, but to me... I got food poisoning, and it was the last time I ate anything that had meat in it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was intense. And we were trying to do a shoot, and Corey's literally like, you were popping Imodium ADs like Pez. And that ended up blocking your peristalsis, and Gaia has this really cool clinic next door. If you end up working out there, you can go to it. It's called Radiance Health. And you went in there and you got like special treatment. One of the things we figured out is you had like no electrolytes.
Right.
So you had no energy because you weren't eating or drinking anything. And the water was flushing out all your electrolytes.
Yeah. I don't think anyone, speaker or guest at Gaia, would ever attempt to do a show in the condition I was in.
Oh. And yet you got through it, and I mean, some of those episodes didn't make it into being broadcast, but some of them did.
Yeah.
Which is pretty amazing that you were able to work under those conditions. Then there was other times where you like bit on something and had a broken tooth, and I mean, we've just had one crazy thing after another. One of the things you got to realize about this is people might walk up to me or to Corey and say, "Oh, I want to be like you." Well, there's a great deal of work and sacrifice, and there's a great deal of karma. Because when you're on the front lines like this, you have to be so precisely accountable for everything you think, say, and do that you step a little bit out of line and you can get a really big blowback. And Corey, you've said that this is one of the things that a lot of it you don't ever want to really talk about, but you get all these personal advisories from the beings, and it's very unflattering, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's... You know, if I don't shine the light in a dark place that I haven't shined, they do it for me. And we have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
A very uncomfortable conversation.
And my own experience with dreams and all this stuff that was happening to me for so long, same thing. Dreams can be extremely unflattering. And I was constantly like amazed at how hard they wanted me to work. Because all this normal stuff that people have of like work until 5 or 6 p.m. and then just watch TV, they're like, we don't even want you to turn the frickin' thing on. We want you to be like working all day. And we want you to be very disciplined and have your consciousness focused. And it's just amazing how accountable you have to be. So I believe this is like the SEAL team. You guys are really, as these changes that we're talking about with the sun and all this start to happen, you guys are hearing this before like the whole world is going to hear about this. Okay, so think about that. You're not just somebody watching this show. You are a participant in Ascension. We're like Morpheus up here, and you're Neo. It's true. So I want you to really kind of grok that and soak in this, that what seems to be happening to Corey is that he is what we would call the harbinger. He's the front runner. He is the first guy to break out of this very, very tightly controlled system where they don't ever usually let people come back to Earth. And if you try to speak, they will just kill you on the spot. And I want to get your confirmation on this, Corey, for other whistleblowers who may be thinking about coming forward. One of the things that one of the top Cabal insiders told me is there's a law that they know about. This is the evil ones now. You cannot shoot the Red Cross workers. So people who are going to come forward, if you practice these positive spiritual disciplines, it's not like they can just pick you off.
Well, I don't know. My experience is that there's always casualties in war, and you don't necessarily have to authorize yourself getting killed in battle.
Right.
And this is a battle.
And if you look at history, there's always people who have stepped forward bravely and gone into situations that seemed impossible. And that's not anything that we can't continue to do. This is a war, it is real, but also knowing the eternity of the soul is part of what fuels people who are whistleblowers to come forward, because they realize, yes, something may happen to you, but in the grander sense, you're just getting out of the prison down here, right? And you die with honor, that's not a bad thing at all. So, let's go through more of this. So, Krishna, right? One of the types of beings that we hear about in the Mahabharata, because there are others. They describe reptilians in the Mahabharata too. They're called the rock. I forget.
I've got to get you the updated pictures.
Yeah, these are old ones.
Oh, they're the incorrect ones too.
Oh, they're incorrect. Okay.
They're coloring and all that. That was
wrong. Okay, but how accurate are these?
These are accurate.
Okay, so this is one of the inner Earth groups, which actually look like people from Africa. So that was one of the things I had real trouble with other insiders. Remember I told you this, Corey, that nobody wanted to say that there were black-looking people anywhere but on Earth. And it was like there's this racism inside the Cabal. They don't want black people to know that they have extraterrestrial ancestry.
Right, and you were being told that black people didn't serve.
Didn't serve in the space program.
Right, and there were people from all races that were serving. Yeah.
Very interesting. So then we found similar illustrations of these underground facilities that he saw, these underground Anshar bases. That's what they called themselves, the Inner Earth Alliance. online. We showed you this last year, but it's worth repeating. Some of these, this is stuff that we just found that looked kind of like what Corey was seeing. And then I'm going to show you some new stuff. This is one, we didn't commission this, right? This is just one that kind of looks a lot like what you saw, as we're going to see, but it was already online.
Apparently pilfered from Google.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fair use. We're totally, we have every right to do this. Okay, so, no, I believe me, I've researched copyright law like you can't imagine. So we have grottos, we have areas of water, there's caves, and then we have, this is another one that was drawn by somebody online. It's kind of hard to see. Another one from online, but you kind of get the theme here. Corey said a lot of these look similar. This is one of the early ones that we actually did commission. And so you're seeing little obelisks and little domes, and you're seeing this cigar-shaped craft up here. So would you say this is a fairly close rendition?
It sufficed for the show graphics.
Okay.
But the one that we've done.
We got it coming right now.
Yeah.
These are some great debuts that we're about to get to. Now, Kari took you out and showed you where they were farming their food, right? These huge crops.
Yeah, they're growing it in... The roots were in a crystal substrate that they were growing it in. It was like hydroponics.
And there's no star. It's like, I've heard from others that have seen this also, that the whole kind of dome is like just glowing, right?
Yeah, they create light using sound.
Very interesting. Then we have this, and you said they were preserving some very unique animals here, right?
Yes.
Animals that might have otherwise gone extinct on the surface of the earth?
Right. From, I think they said it was from an era just prior to the last cataclysm.
Right. So that's where you get your giant sloths, mastodons, toxodons, giant turtles, saber-toothed tiger, all kinds of interesting creatures like that. And you actually heard a tiger, right? That was one of the funny things that happened.
Very close. Very deep rumbling in our chest. Yeah.
And then this is where it got really crazy, because in the center of this whole area, you saw this obelisk, right? And you said there was light coming off the top.
Right. There was some sort of a artificial type sun, a plasma ball above it. Yeah.
And what was so crazy was it seemed awfully familiar. You're telling me all this before we'd even commissioned the art that you're now looking at. And I had just gotten back the cover of my book, Ascension Mysteries, where I told the publisher exactly what I wanted on the cover. And this is what I had them put on the cover. An obelisk with light coming off the top, and in the dim background, there's the image of the planet Saturn. Remember, those people were wearing Saturn pendants. The timing between these two things was literally the same day. You came back from that vision, you told me about it, and I had just gotten the email. It was within minutes, actually.
From that vision?
From your vision of that obelisk in the garden.
It wasn't a vision. It was a... I was transported there physically.
Right. Well, a vision meaning you're seeing it, yeah.
Okay. Well, most people, when they hear vision, they think of...
Right. No, you were physically there. Yeah. Whereas this was something where I said, what do I want my book cover to be? And I got this flash, and that's what I saw.
You had the vision.
I had a vision, yes. Moving right along. This is some of the new stuff that we're really excited to bring you. I've used Corey told me, I want all these slides in the talk. I said, okay, cool, we'll throw them all in. So what are we looking at here?
I said 3 to 6, but... Yeah.
No, you said put them all in. Don't lie.
But these are the ones that haven't been colorized yet for the graphic novel.
This is some of the Anshar and the Inner Earth Alliance people?
Yes. Who all is going to go Sunday to our show? All the people not raising your hands, you gotta go. This is going to be a presentation you will not forget. It's
yeah,
gonna be
we're only
unbelievable.
scratching the surface here. There's so much new art that he's got and a whole lot of new things he's going to disclose that's never been heard before. 4 p.m. on Sunday. And what are we looking at here?
This is the Inner Earth Council. It was 7 different groups that were meeting, and this was an unprecedented meeting. Some of these groups, they don't particularly get along all that well. They're not warring or anything. They just don't care for each other. but they all got together because of what is occurring with the spheres coming in. They're calling it the Return of the Guardians, which happens to be the name of our graphic novel.
Right
But
on.
I never called them the Guardians. I never associated them with the Guardians until Kari started referring to them as so.
And you had said that this alliance formed with the people in the Inner Earth who were actually warring with each other before, because the Cabal on the surface with all their high technology was now going after them as a group and trying to wipe them out.
They had probably three-front war going between different beings and advanced military-industrial complex ran by the Cabal that were using new weapons that could reach where they are.
So this is another new one. And you saying this probably is more accurate than some of the other ones we saw before, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're looking at some kind of flying saucer type ones. We're looking at some cigar-shaped ones. We're looking at a bunch of really cool glowing cities and pillars that kind of seem to hold the dome together so it doesn't collapse.
Egg-shaped craft.
Yeah, and then we're also seeing these spheres. What are those spheres all about? Those are the egg-shaped craft?
Yes, those are the
Okay,
egg-shaped
right.
craft, yeah.
That we talked about in our latest update on Cosmic, which I think is coming out next week,
Comes
right?
out Tuesday, yes.
Okay, so you got to see that, definitely. BlueAvians.com. If you haven't already watched it, you can sign up there, and then that way we get credit. Okay, now this is another one. This is a really amazing shot of you standing next to Kari. You're in a ceremonial robe. There's other people standing around, and you were looking at a jaw-droppingly amazing view.
Yes, I was looking at a sprawling city complex that went on for many, many, many kilometers. And it was extremely advanced. The city was extremely advanced beyond anything I'd ever seen.
So do you think that there could be potentially millions of people in these Inner
Easily.
Earth populations?
There was easily 1 million people in that one area.
Right, because it looks like there's lights all up and down the pylons. So there could be people living in the entire pylon top to bottom.
Yes,
Apartments with windows.
That's without all the structures that they had created independently of hollowing out different sort of columns that were natural.
Right, so it kind of makes sense that if they have this gorgeous view, everybody wants a window, right? So maybe those pillars give everybody the chance to have some nice real estate.
Yeah, those are the condos.
All right, very good. And then this is another one that we took from a website that you're about to launch. I was right there next to you when we did it. That looks even more high-tech and outrageous than the other one.
Right, and that's getting more accurate about when it comes to the type of buildings I saw construction-wise and the advance of the technology.
Now, the Law of One describes that when the sun does its flash, and they actually talk about Inner Earth civilizations, there were some people, some haters online that said, oh, the Law of One never mentioned that. And I went back and showed, no, it's here, and it's here, and it's here, and it's here. They say in the Law of One that when the sun does its thing, that one of the groups that assists in the ascension is the Inner Earth civilizations. And they actually told you, right, that at times they will take groups of people and bring them down there if there needs to be temporary shelter or safety from something that happens on the surface.
Right, they've done it a number of times, but interestingly enough, an insectoid type group has done this, and the reptilians have done it too during certain times. But they were the negative groups were preserving their genetic experiments. They weren't doing it to be loving and benevolent.
So I'm going to pull the old Ancient Aliens line. Is it possible? And if so, here we go. Ready? Drum roll. Is it possible, Corey, that many of the people in this audience could end up living down there or seeing this right after the sun does its thing?
It's possible. This group is extremely paranoid of human beings. So for us to go down into their sanctuaries, that's going to have to be, I think that's going to be after there's a mutual trust developed.
But they might have stuff like this that would be for us, where we get to be by ourselves, maybe not infringing on their territory, but they've built some places that we could be.
Well, we have built places like that.
Right.
There's a huge infrastructure built by the ICC that is supposed to be turned over to humanity after they're defeated.
Right.
The whole infrastructure in the solar system is supposed to be turned over to us, and then overnight we're going to have a real Star Trek type civilization.
And considering that this solar flash, as you just said a few minutes ago, we're estimating something like this could happen between 2018 and 2024, this kind of fantastic view that you got to see as the harbinger, it's this kind of stuff that other people might actually end up seeing a lot sooner than they think as we go through this transformation.
Correct. And right after the event, the technologies that are going to be disseminated to us, we're going to be so wrapped up and excited in the technologies and the information that's being released that, you know, we're not going to be wanting to travel down there immediately. We're going to have a lot to deal with and absorb.
It's very, very interesting stuff. And then when you went into the library, you saw this hand with the crystal in it. We already did this on a Guy episode.
Right, hanging from the ceiling.
Yep. So that's on the ceiling. And then you saw these scrolls, and we now have some newer art that you just commissioned, which is this. So this library, you said, actually even has some books in it from us here on Earth.
Right. It was like going through time. You started off with scrolls. You worked up to bound type books. You even saw different types of tablets. And when you get to the very end, you see books that could have been ordered off of Amazon.com yesterday. If the ISBN numbers on them, I have no idea how, if the drones are delivering their books down there. I have no idea how they're getting the books down there, but
one of them's got to be Linda Moulton Howe, right?
Absolutely. Library would not be complete.
Barbara Marx Hubbard, got to be down there. Absolutely. Okay. And then you saw people in these levitating egg-like chairs, and they're meditating in there. And what are they up to?
Well, several different things. They're having basically a conference call. And when they use these machines, they are brought to what were we calling the area that where Kari's bringing me at times?
Construct.
You're calling it the construct, yeah.
It's all white, but all you see is just her and yourself.
Right. They enter a construct, and then they interact with each other mentally and show each other all kinds of visuals. But they also use it to reach out to each other at long distances or to human beings on the surface of the planet. They're trying to influence us positively through belief systems, through just information they're imparting to us. If you get information and you have no idea where it came from, there's a fair chance that it came from this group.
So it's sort of like a very cool, benevolent internet.
Yeah.
Now, this is where things start to get interesting, because this military-industrial complex secret space program, they don't necessarily know about the other stuff that we've been talking about.
No, and if they happen to see a craft that's extremely advanced, they're told it's above your need to know, it's one of our concept craft.
And this, and we are getting ready to end here, so don't worry. I know a couple people are stretching. This is one of the ones that they are getting ready to give us first as a partial disclosure, correct?
Absolutely.
They meaning the Earth Alliance, which we're going to meet in a minute.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And you've had some very, very unpleasant interactions with these people. This is your interrogation room, and we've seen this on the show. So what happened to you when you end up being seated in this chair and all this crazy shit was going on?
They were pumping me with chemicals, using strange sonic technologies on me to control my consciousness, and they ended up using those technologies to have me out 3 of the SSP Alliance major command and control people, including Gonzalez.
Right, and there was a period of time where Gonzalez was absolutely furious with you for this and thought that you could have controlled it, which I don't think you could have.
No, I couldn't have controlled it. He knew I couldn't control it. He was just triggered.
Right.
Because One of the guys died. One of them went missing. I haven't heard about it. And Gonzalez lost his cover and couldn't be on the surface of the planet anymore.
Now, one of the fascinating things, we're going to get into Antarctica tomorrow night in my talk, and I'm going to have some absolutely astonishing new testimony from Pete Peterson corroborating what Corey is telling us very nicely about Antarctica. But we have these triangular craft up there. You see they're kind of small in the distance. But the MIC group, as you've said, Corey, has now gained the ability, they've got enough technology now, probably from defectors from the Alliance, that they're actually shooting down Draco craft, which are these teardrop ones that you're seeing, if they try to escape the Earth.
That's not the MIC group.
Oh, that's not? Okay.
It's one of the groups that make up the Earth Alliance.
Okay. Interesting. So this event, why were the Draco trying to leave at this point? This was like last year around February, March time is when this was commissioned.
This is not the Draco. These
it's not? Okay.
No, these are Dark Fleet vessels.
Oh, Dark Fleet, right. The guys that work for the Draco.
Right. They decided they wanted to get off planet with everything going the way it's going. They got into 6 of these very large transport craft and were headed towards low Earth orbit when they were attacked by these dozens of other unknown craft at the time.
Right, so that's Earth Alliance, not MIC-SSP. That's an important distinction. So there's a close-up on these new craft, and Pete gave me all kinds of specifics that Corey hadn't said that turned out to be right about exactly how they were powered, who made them, what defense contractors, all kinds of stuff. Very interesting element of this story. Then we have this really cool thing that showed up very recently. This is one of the most recent things, tying into this mystery of the Olmecs. Now, who are the Olmecs? It was actually, apparently, these people. This is Ambassador Mika, and we're going to see here in just a second, I'm going to go forward, Olmec heads that look just like him, and you can see here 26 sites throughout Mesoamerica, Central America, in which, as it says here, a series of these gigantic heads, and I'm just going to show you the heads very briefly here. These heads are enormous in size, and a lot of people don't know about this. You don't see this very much, but these heads are huge, and there's at least 10 of them that are this big. And here's, so they get dug up out of the ground, and now it appears that Ambassador Mika, let's just back up a second, and we'll get back to that slide of him. How did you meet Ambassador Mika, and what is their relationship to this whole cosmic story that we're seeing?
Ambassador Mika was introduced to me by Tier Air, basically.
Right.
And Mika introduced himself as a representative who did a very similar job as what I'm being asked to do from one of the closest stars to ours. And that they were very excited about where we are and how we're about to end the control system by the Draco, which they had done 3 generations before. So they're excited that we're about to gain our freedom, and they want very much to come in and advise us and assist us.
And a very close friend of mine had an incredible dream right almost to the day that Corey got this information, that was of people who appeared to be black giving an incredible amount of information about various tactics of how to defeat these same beings that we're going to be having to go up against as we go through this transformation. Because it's not like they all just get wiped away in one big step, right? This is a battle that we have to fight.
Yeah, it's a multi-stage battle.
Right. So sure enough, these people appear to have come here before, and you had only told me this Olmec thing tonight, and I'm like, oh my gosh, of course. So did they build these stone heads after themselves, or was that something that the indigenous people were doing?
Unknown. They were here for a short period of time as refugees while things were really hot on their planet. Then things started getting hot again on this planet, reptilian-wise, and they left.
Wow. Okay. I see some people are fidgeting, and this is the last alliance group left, the Earth Alliance. And you just dropped a very interesting thing, which is that all of this stuff that we were looking at with those triangular craft, that's actually an Earth Alliance thing they now have under their control, which is capable of defeating the Draco ships, or the Dark Fleet at least.
Correct. The ICC has all of the most advanced technology, and somehow that technology got disseminated down to this Earth Alliance group.
Now, okay, so the 2016 election, obviously very contentious, and we see this Pizzagate stuff start to happen. WikiLeaks describing pedophilia and Satanism at the highest levels. And now we're seeing, and you were actually giving me some breadcrumbs, the FBI insider that just came out recently. I'm going to talk about this again in a lot more detail tomorrow night. FBI insider saying they're getting ready to file actual criminal charges against some of the highest level Illuminati/Cabal people in the U.S. government. Yes.
Yeah, they've appointed secret grand juries.
Say that again, because we couldn't hear it.
Secret grand juries have been appointed.
Yeah. This is very big stuff. I have been getting, this is something that I can say, I've been getting dream after dream after dream after dream, night after night, preparing me that the work that we've been doing, we in this community, is about to go so big that this is stuff that everybody's going to be talking about. That's why I do consider what we're doing tonight to be a historical event, and I'm so glad that you all have been here with us for this event. I've really hoped that with this slideshow that we can kind of put this all together and get into this whole thing of try to summarize Corey's story in one actual talk, which it's very hard to do that. As you can see, it's very complex. Tomorrow night I have, if you haven't already signed up for it, you probably should do it fast because we way sold out on this room and people were getting turned away. Tomorrow night's probably going to be the same deal. I'm going to get into a lot more information about this situation of Atlantis and what I'm calling the Illuminati salvage plan, even though they don't like us to use that word. Now, this is one of the things that we just grabbed, Corey, off your website. These beings are kind of tall, they have elongated skulls, and you're seeing here an ice excavation with ancient ruins inside. What is the Antarctic Atlantis? What's going on with that?
The Antarctic Atlantis, it was discovered in 1939 by the Germans, and they've been slowly excavating it for a long period of time. As we've reported, and as Tompkins also reported, the reptilians basically control Antarctica. After the last cataclysm, they moved in and took over. So this group that we're calling the pre-Adamites, they lost all access, the survivors lost all access to their technology, their cities, their libraries. All they had was what they had with them.
And these beings that are giants with the skulls are the pre-Adamites.
Right.
Meaning, and this is something that we should have said in other episodes we did on this, that they're before the biblical Adam and Eve.
Right.
Like that was some kind of extraterrestrial seeding of the new humanity, right?
Right.
And these beings were there before that.
Yes, and they are genetic engineering freaks. They immediately started mixing their DNA with the humanoid DNA here, which made other groups mad because they already had 22 different genetic experiments going on. And this group moved in and started to contaminate them, these other 22 genetic projects.
And without getting into long details here, these people are the survivors of that cataclysm that we saw from Mars and the moon earlier in our talk.
And the cataclysm seems to have happened because of their meddling in the 22 different programs.
And other years I've done this, and in fact, you can go online if you haven't already seen my YouTube video. I'm sure you all have. Where I talk, it's the Ascension Mysteries video, which was actually filmed right on this stage last year, or 2 years ago actually, because people didn't even know who you were yet. You were sitting right over there in the audience.
Yeah, I was the fat guy in the front.
We weren't that fat.
I see videos of myself from that expo. I was wow.
But right there, I'm dropping all this information. You can watch it online, get caught up on this. Giant skeletons with elongated skulls that have been found all over the world. And this is one of the big secrets, the idea, and again, we're going to talk way more about this tomorrow. The power elite believe themselves, whether we think it's true or not is irrelevant. Their religious belief firmly is that they are the hybrid human mixed descendants of these people, that they have descended from this race that actually is 500,000 years old, starting out on Mars. Would you agree with all that?
Yes, and there's zealots in that belief system.
And that makes them feel as if they are kind of like entitled to be the gods of Earth and that we're supposed to worship them and all this kind of stuff?
Yes, and most of these so-called elite really aren't blood-related. They've been led to believe that, so they will not only see themselves separate from humans, but to see themselves as the cattle herders and not have problems with the way we're treated.
So you were very excited about this idea of something going on with Antarctica, and you couldn't tell me about it, and it was driving me crazy. All these breadcrumbs. And then finally, just not too long ago, we did Endgame 2, which went spectacularly wild on the internet. We made it into a video.
Still waiting for
million
Endgame 3.
Yeah. Well, that's tomorrow night. That's the first stage of it. So I did a Jimmy Church radio show that had some of it in there too, and then we're going to write it up in the coming week or two, hopefully, because there's been a lot of crazy distractions going on. But suffice it to say, if you already have seen Endgame 2, you've heard a lot of this, but let's just review for people, what is the deal with these ruins in Antarctica? Is this part of the partial disclosure timeline? And if so, what are we going to hear about?
Yes, groups have been documenting in video and with... they've had professors from well-known universities going down for 14 years now to create documentaries that are going to be shown to us once they make this discovery. But they sanitized all of the archaeological scenes, removed any of the bodies of the pre-Adamites, and only left the humans there to make it look like it was a completely human civilization. And that's what they're first going to spring on us. And then after that occurs, eventually they're going to tell us, oh yeah, we have a secret space program, and that secret space program has been flying around finding very similar ruins. Therefore, there are aliens, ancient aliens. But why are they doing this? They see themselves as, they see this as their lineage. They see themselves as royal and entitled. They want us to do the same. They want us to see these non-humans go into some sort of a state to where we begin to worship them, and they want us to worship them as living gods.
How do you think that's going to go down?
It's not going to happen. It's already impossible.
Okay, now, dude, a lot of people have said, oh my God, Corey has become a cheerleader for partial disclosure. Let's just clear that up right now. Is this what you want to see? Is this what we've agreed is going to happen, or are we still working for something else?
Well, be careful what you wish for, but I'm wishing for full disclosure along with the secret space program.
Absolutely.
But we're in the minority. The Earth Alliance, all the negotiations that have occurred, they've already agreed they're pushing forward with this partial disclosure narrative. It's up to us to trip it up in any way we can.
But I just want to point out for everybody here that if you think about the effect of Pizzagate prosecutions, and Antarctica is Atlantis, and there's ancient ruins down there, I mean, what a paradigm shift even that alone is going to be. And you got to think about fractals and how once the truth gets dropped on people like this, I believe the outcome is completely unpredictable. This is freaking live streamed on the internet right now. It cannot be taken away. And if this little bit of truth is correct and you're watching this after this has become public, we said this before it was public, okay? Why would we be wrong about the other stuff? So what we're doing right now, Corey, is part of that full disclosure plan, correct?
Yeah, we're gumming up the works. We're putting out information that they don't want out, and they're not happy. They're not happy.
They're not happy about this.
This pre-Adamite group has gone through great pains to remain in the background, and they do not want to be outed to the public right now.
So there are humans with elongated skulls that still live in the Vatican, hence they wear these elongated hats to hide their skull. And we've had folks like various whistleblowers have come forward talking about this, and the skulls have been found all over the earth. Okay, one last thing. As we said before, I'm going to say it again. Gaia is hiring. It's my job to tell you this. So, as I told you before, we have lots of different positions that are available in the company almost anything you can imagine. It's going to be here all weekend. You can have a high-level meeting. Well, don't go walking away and spoil my standing ovation. Get on up on your feet. This is it. We're done. Thank you so much. Full disclosure now. That's what we want. Conscious Life Expo. This is it. All right, so tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Actually, I got a lot of things. I have 9 a.m. I got a panel with Jimmy Church. 2 p.m. I got a panel with George Norrie. 8 p.m. Antarctic Atlantis. Don't miss it. We'll see you. I have to get up crazy early tomorrow, so I'm really sorry I can't stick around for like an hour meeting everybody. So I'm going to have to jet. But thank you, everybody, so much.